Okay. Now I went ahead, since you don't really care what we look like, dropped the frame size by half. Hopefully that will help some there. I'm pegging the audio levels.
Is it actually showing in the Ustream or Justin TV?
Well, unfortunately, Justin TV, I got to use Adobe Flash Media Encoder, and I don't have a local preview.
Okay. So it's our best guess.
Oh, wait, do we come back loud? Is that what the ouch was for? I thought the ouch was because I made a comment that you really don't care about looking at us, but the ouch was we just blew the Grumpy Dude's headphones. But he is the Grumpy Dude, so it's like we couldn't have won anyway. You're going to be the Grumpy Dude no matter what we do.
Yep.
Do we have a confirmation from England? England, are you there?
No.
Cheerio, pip pip, fish and chips.
No. That will get stabbed in the face faster than the bad
I get to make those
Asian.
comments. I'm 1/4 British. I can make those. It's not racist.
And I will hand your grandmother the knife as she cheerily stabs you in the face.
Oh,
And then offers you
we need to
food.
we need to get underway. I don't see anything back from Mad Ninja if it's going for him. But I will make sure I got my first news article queued up. And we'll get rolling. Cicely is always on chat. We need to do a promo bit for the opening.
Okay.
Not phase 2. It's phase 1.5.
Give me a second to remember what phase 2 is.
Okay, if you forgot phase 2, then that's great, because I don't want you to mention what the
Crap, I've forgotten phase 2.
The bit was that I was trying to line up.
I've completely forgotten.
Okay.
We'll have to discuss this later.
All right. So we're going to do like a Cheesemo advertisement here, right? So just play along with me. Are you ready?
I'm not good at this. I'm not good at acting.
It's theater.
Yeah, I'm not good at that.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
You know what I like, Dylan?
What do you like, Mike?
I like learning me some shit.
Okay.
And you know what I like when I'm learning me some shit?
What?
I like getting together with a bunch of other people and learning some shit all at once all together.
Holy crap, that's a lot of learning.
It is a lot of learning. Do you know where you can go and do a lot of learning?
Where can I do a lot of learning?
You can go to Codestock.
Holy crap, how much would I pay for this?
You would pay $85. And if you come back at me with that lame voice again, it's going to be $90.
How many
You know what they got at this
installments?
Codestock? Do you know what they got at this Codestock?
What do they have at this Codestock?
They got some X and A classes.
They do.
You heard of Chad Carter?
Yes. He wrote a book. Was I supposed to say?
I'm like looking for more than one syllable. We're going to work out the rough gigs. Yes, he wrote a book.
Look.
He's an MVP on X and A, and he's going to be there. Do you know Chris Williams?
Yes, he's an MVP.
Also an MVP, also wrote a book, and he's going to be there. You should probably go check out Codestock in Knoxville, Tennessee, June 3rd and 4th. Codestock.org.
I was kind of worried you were going to throw a name at me I did not immediately recognize, and I was just going to be, and someone would be insulted.
Yes. People, you can... Well, welcome to the show, everyone. Yes, you can get this podcast sponsored, and we can do that to your wonderful product or game.
Or
Recording this?
you
Yeah,
can
oh, yes.
pay us not to do that to your wonderful product or game.
Kicking right off into the show, since Mad Ninja Skills, did he ever confirm he was back in there?
Well,
Stutter free.
He's back.
He's-
He popped out and now he's back.
Okay. I just want to kick off with been playing recently, and I've been playing me some emus. I've been playing me some emus plus hamster edition. I don't know what the hamster is for.
Is there actually a hamster in it?
I don't know. It's hamster edition. So there's an edition without hamster, but that's not this edition. This edition is hamster plus.
Interesting.
And I was quite impressed. Now, I wanted to have like a clip, a little sample that I did that I could, like play or stream. It wouldn't have worked anyway with the software we have on now that we're trying out Justin TV. But I couldn't get the upload server to work. There's a feature where you go in there and you say you want to upload your song, and then what I think James is doing, Mad Ninja Skills is doing, is like connecting a multiplayer game where he's got like the special server set up, and then the file transfers to the server, because you can only do peer-to-peer connections on Xbox Live Indie Games, and then has a computer hooked up to the audio and goes like old school, like Z modem, Kermit, 8-in-1 baud, and transfers the digital bits of your song over to his PC, then MP3s it, and then puts it up on the website. Now, the last couple nights where I've been playing it, it says on the site that, server such and such down, hadn't been up. I think that's why I haven't been able to get my song in there. But I was amazing. I was more than pleasantly surprised by how deep this tool goes and how easy it was to use. Like, I'm a fan, the DJ equipment. I had the whole thing where I kept trying to psych myself up to buy a $1,700 DJ deck.
And still keeps trying to psych himself up.
It'll happen one day. It will happen.
I know.
But so I played around with a lot of like Fruity Loops and song composition things that essentially these tools allow you to take wave patterns. So you take a wave pattern of somebody on a hi-hat, and a wave pattern of a bass guitar, and a wave pattern of a voice or something, and then you just kind of remix those. So you're not actually entering raw MIDI notes or anything like that. Now eMuse is deep, so there may be something like that in there, but I didn't get into any of that at the moment. I was just going through an immense, crazy library of sound samples that are on there. One thing I kind of wish it did is I would find myself go and grab a song sample and then want to use that song sample again, or grab something right next to it from the same category, and it kind of resets you every time you go into the library. So that was slightly annoying because I'd have to like dig down and remember where I was. But I mean, you can easily copy and paste with the Xbox controller and everything. That's what's so impressive. Like, once I played around with it for a little bit, and I got how easy it was to move tracks around and edit. So I mean, it's not a game. So I think I may do like an in-depth video trial on it, because I feel bad, like, I can't review it in the terms of a normal game because it's an audio workstation app. I mean, it really is a digital audio workstation. Yeah. So I like, if you're into this stuff, buy it. But if you're not, like, it's not gonna.
You're probably gonna be confused, I would imagine.
Yeah. Like, if you're not familiar with this kind of stuff, I don't know that it's the beginner's approachable, easy version of these tools. It's pretty high end and powerful for what it can do. And there was something too on there. Maybe I can set up my own eZMuse server, and then maybe I can transfer it off on my local network or something. Because it was like, connect to eZMuse server, and then on local network. So there's deep. I mean, it goes crazy deep.
So how does that work? Do you install another XNA application that on your computer?
I mean, I have no idea how that would work locally.
Is there any comments from?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know how that would work. To set up your own server. I mean, there's in there an option, and I want to get James on the podcast at some point. I didn't realize. I Facebooked him. I found out he was in England, so I apologize, James. I didn't send you like an email because I figured, this is short notice. We're gonna have to schedule a special time. Yeah. But he's got a tutorial on the site, of like how to upload your song, because you have to go to eZMuse Central. You have to make an account. You have to put in your gamer tag, and then you have to put in some specific numbers into copy and paste those values from between the clients so everything can sync up. And I guess a lot of people have issue, with that. So he made a YouTube tutorial on how to do that. And of course, as soon as he starts talking on the YouTube tutorial, I went, "Oh fucking God, he's British. He's got like a strong British accent. I want him on the podcast." I mean,
that was what did it.
Well, okay, so a number of things. So James, when you come on, be prepared to talk about a number of things. You get to talk about the Easy Muse and how awesome Easy Muse is. You get to talk about Xbox Live Indie Games DB, XBLIG DB, which we got to get our current project up and going because, Xbox Indies only has what's published and what's out. And we talked about having the issue of how do you credit, even if we set up a developer profile, how do you credit the musician? The guy who has a lot of music on these games, you want to kind of have that Internet Movie Database feel, and that's what James is. So you get to talk about that, and then
pretty far outside the scope
you
of
also
what we
get
were
to have a
doing.
conversation with the developer of Insane Bash, which I hear has won like an award on Armless Octopus podcast like 3 weeks in a row.
Huh.
Are either of you listening to the Armless Octocast?
I think I listened to one episode. But,
yeah, so they have an award called Banger of the Week.
okay.
And I think it's a British term for Banger of the Week. Bangers and mash. I don't know,
like
maybe.
Bangers and mash,
Yeah. So maybe Sausage of the Week. It's not their honorable award.
Good thing?
They've given it to Indie Bash like 3
Insane
weeks in a
Bash.
row. Like they go through all the new releases of the week, and then they're like, "What game this week do we want to give Banger of the Week to?" Which is like opposite the game of the week, and they're like, "Let's give it to Insane Bash again."
It's just being cruel at some point. Like you're dredging up,
We're probably driving so many sales James's way that he's just laughing to the bank all the way. He's like, "Yes, keep mocking
80
me."
points at a time. Those add up fast.
Those sterling pounds or whatever.
pounds sterling.
Yes, 2 pence, tuppence for the poor. I don't know.
A British pound.
Yeah.
They use a different currency than we do.
Even with my
We're
grandmother-
Americans. We don't have to know these things.
Even with my grandmother being a World War II war bride, I know jack, really. She makes great shepherd's pie.
And she makes great tea, and she will
That's
serve
as-
you. biscuits
No,
at any
no,
rate.
actually,
That's as far into the culture as you
America
wanna get.
ruined my grandmother for her tea because she goes with like the instant teas now.
And
She has no
tea
problem
the
with
right
iced
way,
tea.
and she likes
No, the
grapes.
only reason there is loose leaf teas in that house is
Is your
because
dad.
his dad and I brought them. In that, so yeah, definitely put a Easy Muse Hamster Edition. If you want, download the demo. You can actually get a good impression from this on the demo to see if you were interested in it. And I thought I'd kind of like be overwhelmed, but I actually got sucked in and started doing a couple songs to the point where I had one I wanted to upload and play. I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. I'm gonna let my daughters check it out and see if they gravitate anyway towards the DJing, since none of them are into any kind of engineering discipline. I
At
don't
least
care.
that's close.
For Jasmine, I don't care anymore at this point. I don't care if it's a mathematical engineer, electrical engineer.
plumbing, construction.
I will say no to a civil engineer, but
Yeah.
No?
yeah, but
they're not real engineers.
yeah, not gonna stand out on a little like highway with a little thing and go like, oh look, bunch of cars here. I can triangulate. We can make one more lane. Why? No, fuck that.
No. Be a structural engineer.
So what you're saying
Aim
is,
high.
if one of your daughters gets into something like sports, you will be disappointed. You're the opposite of the
No, if
the guys
one of them
who.
gets into sports, I will be surprised and happy. Surprised and
Yeah.
happy.
You're the opposite of the.
Hannah could still go to sports. I mean, Hannah really got into soccer and was good at it and was the active kid, but just didn't have the desire to want to do it again. She just kind of did it because her older sister was, and then so she may, when she gets a little older and wants to be independent, that may be start to be her thing or something. But yeah, back onto indie games. What have you been playing? You get a review in queue.
Yeah, of Data Stream
Y2K?
It was the same one I had last week. Like it's been a couple weeks, and that was a really hard review to write because it's just such a short game. You know, like, there's not much to it. If you're the type of person who chases high score lists, you're going to enjoy it.
Was that the Frogger one?
Yes, that was
Okay.
the Frogger.
Make sure I got that one right. And on that, let me make some notes on these. But anything else? You check anything else?
I've not played anything else this week.
Pass
Just
me
like,
back the bottle opener, please.
oh, you got the Cheerwine?
Nope.
No, did you change your mind?
Nope. This is actually a Coca-Cola with actual sugar. Cane sugar.
Where did you get that? I didn't know that Coke... Is Coke doing throwbacks now?
That's in the Mexican aisle in one
Oh,
of
okay,
the
yeah.
cities.
Well, see, there's a thing about that. You know, it's coming from Mexico, so can you really trust their labeling laws? Because, I mean, in the States, right, they don't want to call it high fructose corn syrup anymore. They want to call it corn sugar.
Yeah.
No, that's sugar.
So, did you play something this week, Cicely? Did you mention you were playing something?
I don't remember what I played. I played all the games, and then I started... What was it I was playing? I went back to Megapolis, and I'm probably going to buy that and do a review of it next
Is that the one that was SimCity looking?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, yes. I thought we had that game to review last week because I saw they were playing it, and then was disappointed when we didn't.
Did I miss that one? When was that?
No,
that was
it's
a
an older
Kotaku-
one.
It was
Oh,
not a
okay.
Kotaku favorite. Game contest winner. There we go. And
Okay.
I was like, okay, I like this. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, so that's one that I think I will try to pick up. I'll let you write the review on it, but I'll try to go back and pick up on that.
We'll talk about you again soon, Mad Ninjas.
So on I'm kind of having to go between monitors because you know that Apple Air is failed me, and I'm still distraught about that. But the first thing I grabbed, and I had to kind of grab these like last moment because I really wasn't prepared to have to do this. But so one topic I got here is I posted in the forums asking about, is the Xbox really only 720p? So I've seen this in several places now, on several forums, come up in several discussions, where there's this persistent rumor that the Xbox internally, graphics card, GPU, and everything, is only capable of 720p, and there's an upscaler card that's actually taking it to 1080i or 1080p. Okay.
Okay.
Which
That
is different
seems
from
bizarre.
which is different from the auto scaling that we enjoy in XNA, where if you program to 720p, the Xbox can support whatever resolution up or down. You know, it's set there. That's a different thing. I'm not talking about that.
Are they saying that basically it's drawing to a back buffer of 1080p, and then it's scaling down, and it's going to the card, and then getting scaled back up?
Well, that was kind of my question. It was like, first of all, is this true? Because I can set the back buffer to 1080. So if I can set the back buffer to 1080, then, and the Xbox hardware is 720, that means it's actually like downscaling and then scaling back up. And it's like, why would I ever do that?
Seems this would be easy to test.
But, and this was a great thread, because Nick Graveling got involved, and later Sean Hargraves got involved. And, no, that's not true. So, what is true, and probably the kernel of truth that is misunderstood, you know, on those great reporting sites that do great research like Joystick and Kotaku, you know, which always do their homework and you know, find the truth. They don't ever run just a rumor.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So I think the kernel of truth here is that there's like room for a couple frames in the buffer or something. I'm going to screw this up, so I'm going to try to understand this technology. What happened? Well,
this is so low level that no one who
there's like
listens
some
will understand.
area of memory space for doing some kind of algorithm type stuff on the images that if you go 1080p, right, you can't load the second frame.
Okay.
And so I know back in the days when life was simple, you had two frames, okay? You had the active frame that was on the screen, and you had the frame that you drew to. hence the back buffer. And then for speed, you just switched a pointer from which was the back buffer, and then you started drawing to the other frame. Now, an X and A makes this really abstract for us and hides it down there, but I think that has to do with this low-level understanding, is that this back buffer that you're writing to, if you throw a 1080p image in it, you don't have like another space to throw your next 1080p image to keep your frame rate going. But then the Xbox does some cool big brain freak genius move and like half swaps a frame out into cache or something and then loads it so it's like editing half a frame at a time or something, and does render 1080p, but it does come at a significant bandwidth cost. And now guys got in the forums and they actually confirmed like Gran Turismo natively is 1080. So, I mean, there are Xbox games that run 1080, but the fact is you're probably not going to notice the difference, and you are sacrificing a serious amount of bandwidth on that system, because the Xbox, I believe, is a one GPU, CPU combined unit. Has advantages that anytime the CPU acts upon graphic data, it's right there, but it's like a shared memory bus and everything architecture. So, like, you are taking, cycles that you could use for something else. What was kind of cool, the thread is titled Xbox 360 720p only, and I think I posted it in the general framework area. And when you go in there, so like this, the whole thing is false. The Xbox can do 1080p, but then the conversation went to like the reality of what you should do and why you should do it. And Sean's getting in there basically saying like, start with 720. If you finish your game and you can scale up, go ahead, but there's not much benefit to it. But then you can start scaling down when you need to. Jay Waite actually posted a great thing here. See if I can pull it up.
In Gran Turismo's PlayStation game.
Well, it's some racing game that I don't play.
Forza?
Was it Forza?
Probably.
What was the other one? There was another one that was big on Xbox for a while.
Maybe it was Project Gotham.
Project Gotham, yeah.
Perfect Dark Zero is mentioned. And it was like the replay mode of that game. Like that game had a replay mode or something. Mm-hmm. Well, now, so Andy Dunn, the Z-Man, said Gran Turismo. So,
awkward.
I'm not going to argue with the Z-Man. If the members of the chat on this podcast choose to call the Z-Man out, the forum thread is Xbox 360 720p only. I don't do racing games, so I don't know if there ever was a Gran Turismo that came to... it does sound like that is a PlayStation-only exclusive.
As far as I know, it's only PlayStation.
I mean, now that you say it out loud, it does sound, but I don't know. But Jay Waite had a great comment here where he said basically he codes to 576p 1024, right? So now when you do that, you're going to take into hand a little bit your own scaling, right? You're going to lose some of the magic scaling, and you're going to have to do your own. But he said that was a great sweet spot for him and his games to get good graphics, but get good performance for your other elements and all that.
So it sounds like he must have tried a bunch of different resolutions and like tested them against some benchmark, maybe. And
again, the Z-Man, that may or may not be correct in his Gran Turismo assertion, posted a nice list of all of these AAA titles and what their native resolutions were. So, like, none of them are running at 1080, and many of them aren't even running 720.
That's bizarre.
So they're scaling up to those resolutions.
When Final Fantasy 13 came out, there was that big to-do about the fact that it wasn't running in native 720 or 1080. I can't remember which, but it had a lesser resolution than what the PS3 version
I know they
did.
downsampled or they overcompressed the video on the 360 version because they couldn't fit as much on disc as they could on the PlayStation Blu-rays. I don't know resolution there because that game sucks and I didn't play it. Well, I played it for an hour. I did go an hour into that game.
You played it for an hour after watching me for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I watched her for 2 hours. So my hour...
through.
Well, no, so I'm saying is I got 8% through because I could skip all the beginning stuff because I watched her do it.
Well, you still got 19 hours to play before it gets good.
That's true. For the 3 hours that it gets good, and then whatever, wrap it up.
I'm just repeating at this point.
So I mean, go check out that thread. That's pretty good reading as far as what resolutions to do your game at. I know for us, that's given me pause to start thinking about, all these AAA titles are dropping it down a little bit and getting and going for some performance. Maybe we should go ahead and drop down a little bit for us.
It seems like there would be 3D graphics probably wouldn't be as affected. Well, maybe it's hard to say there, but 2D graphics seems like there would be noticeable.
Well, no. So if you run a shader, okay,
yeah.
You have more pixels. The higher resolution you have to go for that pixel shader to work on, right? So right. You have a lot of vector art that you're not saving as space on the vector side, but your shader side and your shader logic, you can do more things in your shader now because you have less pixels per pass to calculate. So bloom the fuck out of it,
instead of building that.
What the hell is a sun's flare? Throw another sun's flare on the Barbie, crank it up, fuckers. Just have some fun there. If like I'm saying,
this needs rum in it.
As I'm saying, like it's not going to be a noticeable downgrade. So like when you run the game at these lower resolutions, and I think what Jay Waite said too in his post, maybe somebody else in that thread was, drop down to the 576, 1024, whatever he had, and then if you want to add something, add a 4:3 aspect ratio, and spend your time instead of like giving like native 720p, native 1080, give a native 16:9 and a native 4:3 experience, and you'll reach more people that way than you will. Because, there's a damn good upscaler on there that's going to make it look pretty good.
And upscaling is for an audience who has, state-of-the-art TVs and actually cares about that HD experience, which you're probably not going to get in indie games as much as you are in AAA titles and Xbox Live Arcade.
Next news article I got here is TGI Source had an article back on April 30th called Game Engines. And they ran down with a link to a bunch of different game engines and links to info on those engines and you can use. Now, it's all PC-based. So, I mean, that's really for any developers that are looking at, like, going to the PC and entertaining leaving XNA, and grabbing another engine and what can that engine do. It's pretty good and good rundown, but it popped up at the same time there was a news article on Windows Phone 7. And in this article, was the whole statement that they've only sold like 600, 700,000 phones total, which is by some Russian phone specialist dude, which I was like, I don't mean to be, racist or anything, but like, I just, you tell me like some numbers came out of Russia, and I go
Soviet Russia
yeah,
numbers make
we ought to fact check that. How did Soviet Russia get those numbers? But then I think like, wait a minute, it's Russia.
How many phones were sold in France? I mean, like, it seems odd for one country to be talking about how many phones are sold.
No, he's not talking about how many phones sold in Russia. He's talking worldwide.
Oh, I thought he was talking about like
a
how
guy
many phones
in Russia
sold
got
in
the
US
numbers
or something.
Like it's trusting a research analyst in Russia. When you hear like a Russian research analyst, you're like, what? So I don't know how to take those news. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, they really don't have like IP laws over there. They really don't like this is the place of all of MP3's hometown. And so it's like maybe he could get the hands on those numbers. But in the articles around that was mentioned Windows Phone 7 specifically, but this applies to the Xbox, not supporting game engines. And it kind of made me think, because in the context of the mobile market, what they actually said is they dinged Windows Phone 7 for no native SDK. Therefore, these guys can't port their game engines over. Therefore, they can't port OpenGL over. So if like you get OpenGL running, they can start putting on Unreal and Unity, and all these engines are coding to OpenGL.
Well, no, I believe that's talking about indie games. I mean, obviously.
Well, on the phone, there's no option. I don't think
can Well, not on the phone necessarily. And
Yeah, I don't think on the phone anybody can. Of course, you could use these other options when you pay the $10,000 dev kit type thing for Xbox 360.
right.
But it got me thinking in a larger sense of, it's weird, but I think it's true to say Microsoft's becoming the walled garden. Like,
Yeah,
you
in a
have to use
sense.
XNA, to reach the Microsoft devices, and XNA goes nowhere else. Whereas, like, on the iPhone, there's iOS, and I can go to Objective-C, but I can go to Unity, I can go to GameSalad, I can go to Unreal, I can go to, I have options. I can go to
Yeah.
MonoTouch.
It sounds like MP4s when they first started.
I guess I can see that in the sense that Apple gives you something very low level, and then other people build upon that, whereas Microsoft gives you something very high level, which is great that you get that right out of the box, and you get it from the manufacturer, so you get real high quality tools.
I mean,
but
what I wish
anything
would
below
change is not that you can run as an indie game developer, as an independent developer, you could run Unity on the Xbox, you could run Unreal on the phone, so much as I wish the XNA team would become cross-platform.
that. Okay.
If you can cram, I'm sorry, in my opinion, if you can cram XNA into a phone, if you can get bits of XNA running in the Silverlight browser plugin now, granted it's only running on Windows, it's not running on Mac there,
Right.
but
That's going to be the challenge.
you got some smart motherfuckers. Get that thing running on, multiple hardware iterations. First of all, Mac and Windows should be pretty easy. They're both Intel under the hood. You get the low-level drivers in those, and you get them on there. iPhone would be a tougher sell because you would have to end up with a binary for iPhone. They could do it. Apple would allow XNA to compile,
if they did it like
because that's actually
MonoTouch.
it's actually what Unity is. Unity is using Mono under the hood. That's why you script in C# and then you end up with an iPhone binary. But the thing is, you have to end up with an iPhone binary. You can't have an XNA framework on the phone because they don't want any interpreters,
Sure.
quote-unquote interpreters on the phone. They don't want to add any languages that way. That's the way they keep Flash and Silverlight off, because those would essentially break the App Store for them. They don't want to break the App Store. So as long as you have to make a binary and then upload it to the App Store, they're going to be okay. But yeah, I mean, get it out there. Get a browser plugin like Unity has a browser plugin, Actually make that cross-platform. I know that's not going to sit well with the Windows team.
No.
They're not going to like hearing that. But, I mean, XNA kicks ass when it comes to writing the game. It's nicely positioned between not crazy low-level C APIs. I have my memory management with me. I have a lot of things doing things for me. I can go in, but I'm not so abstracted to, like, GameSalad is like the extreme, where, you have to put objects on the design service and then write scripts on the objects, and you don't have, like, a game loop to begin programming.
It's higher level. It's
Even
dragging
Unity,
on.
I don't think you can get to that game loop.
So basically what you're saying is, instead of Microsoft allowing other frameworks to port themselves to XNA, what XNA needs to do is become a definitive framework, maybe not the definitive framework.
And they would kick ass. They have the tool set.
That is true. The thing is, they would also, like, if they make development easier for iPhone and Android, that's a problem.
No, it's not, because the problem right now with Windows Phone 7 is I could develop an XNA and hit Windows Phone 7 and 600,000 phones, and then maybe I can port my game to Xbox Live Indie Games and hit 5,000 people who go into that channel, or whatever abysmally low number that is, outside of course, Minecraft clones. Or I can go to these other platforms and hit iPhone and insane 93 countries marketplaces. I can hit Android and hit 40 marketplaces, 40 country marketplaces, using the same tool set, and then get into a web browser and get to a PC version on that platform. So XNA suffers not because it's a bad choice or an in-quality product. You're in a walled garden. So when you go into XNA, your reach is limited. right? And that's
Yeah.
hurting XNA. I think if you made XNA everywhere, then it's like, well, hell, why wouldn't I take my XNA game and put it on iPhone, Android, and Windows Phone 7
Now, it may
as
be
well?
Like, it seems like it may be like end up being like Mono Touch and Mono for Android, where they're not exactly compatible. They're still wrapping a bunch of different. I mean, because the user interface, let's face it, is probably going to be different on Droid and
It's a little
iPhone. Not
easier.
much.
It's a little easier to do that with a game than with a app, because an
Right,
app
because-
has a lot more UI methods to implement, but a game kind of like
But there would be
takes over and does its own thing. There would be some quirks. You have to obey each phone's.
There
You
would
know,
be a
like
minimal
the
amount of
Windows
changes
has a rule
necessary.
about the home button or something, like must
Yeah.
pause the game immediately. And then, Android has a meaning with the back button that doesn't match the Windows back button meaning.
Right.
So yeah, you would have to address those things, but that's kind of fringe stuff. Whereas right now it's like, well, if you choose to go Windows 7, Windows Phone, then you spend all this time and you end up with a bunch of C# code that's good on Windows 7 Phone.
So
If
basically,
you go to a Unity and you target iPhone, when you're done, you have a bunch of your code, 80% maybe, that goes to Android. And then so you can conceivably see a path of like, I will
someone
port it
would
across.
Probably end up building a UI framework on top of it that works the same.
Yeah, I mean,
across
then you can,
board.
if there's some abstraction and all that. For games, this is easier than it would be for apps.
Yeah.
But I think in both cases, I think running Silverlight everywhere and running XNA everywhere is in Microsoft's best interest long term. I think they're very short term sighted, and they're trying to, we have to pull market share and take down the iPhone. And it's like, no, what you have to do is tap into all those iPhone developers and convert them into Windows developers.
Yeah, part of the problem too, like I can see you're basically bleeding over Droid and iPhone's marketplace. The problem is, like with ASP.NET, like with .NET in general, it's not a product in itself. It's
Yeah, so
It's
that's
kind of
always the
part of
problem
the-
with
the
ASP.NET and XNA and all that. Like, those aren't monetized directly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but, Visual Studio is. So, although it's becoming more and more free, so I don't know
I think we would have to wait a couple
where
of
that
years.
fits in.
Like, we would have to see Windows Phone completely tank and then wait a couple of
Well,
years.
I think we're
and
seeing
then-
that. I think.
I mean, like, the final nail in the coffin.
And again,
not-
Windows Phone 7 is an awesome fucking phone. Like, it's the upper management and the way they have chosen to market it and put limitations in place, on the platform and things like that are killing it. I was shown a guy who's working on a code stock app for Windows Phone 7 so that you can pull up all your code stock sessions and everything through it. And I'm going through with his phone, playing with it, man, and it rocks. I mean, the guys who actually came up with Metro, kick ass. They deserve tons of props. I know it seems kind of hipster, like the text runs off the screen and you kind of see the next screen on your screen, but like that weirdness fits so well into like communicating. Like when the text flows off that screen, I kind of know there's something over there. Like I kind of like, oh yeah, there's something over there. I can see like the preview of all the speaker photos when I'm looking down the sessions to like know like, well, if I just swipe over, I'm going to see the speakers. It's not like a iPhone or Android where I don't see any of the next screen. I kind of swipe over and like, oh, okay, that's speakers next, and then I swipe back to what I was doing. I'm kind of like picking up subtle meta clues. So, I think it's a rough shame that it's going to have this hard, rough time, because the more I use it, the more I'm like, I don't know. I'm still thinking iPhone, but I don't know now. I don't know. Like when my Droid contract is up, like I'm no Droid. I'm anti-Droid. I'm fuck Droid. You went and got a Droid. As far as I am, you went and bought one. You didn't put the screen protector on it, and what happened?
I don't think that would have fixed it because it was the lower screen.
What happened? No screen
dropped
protector, and what happened to the screen?
It got cracked, but it was the lower screen. I don't think a surface protection would have stopped.
What do you
that.
call on the lower screen?
Like okay, feel that. Like, that is... there's
Oh, you're
something-
saying under the Gorilla Glass, you cracked the
Yes.
the screen below it. I don't know, because, I have the Invisi Shield, I have the screen protector. I mean, that is a shock absorbent surface. So while you did that, that may have absorbed some of the shock.
We will never know. It was a pretty good...
No,
drop.
what we
Like,
will know is you will never get out of I told you so on this. So you can
But it's
try
not a
if you
valid-
want. Try all you want.
It still
But I
works.
told you so.
The thing is, though, like, you're anti-droid now, but I found the way that these devices were, because I got a BlackBerry after several people I know got a BlackBerry. It's like...
I understand. You had a BlackBerry Storm, and for you, a Droid is an
no,
amazing step up.
No, let me explain. Like, phone contracts are usually 2 years, so people change phones about every 2 years. And that's pretty much like whatever phone you buy next, someone else is always going to be 2 years ahead of you going, oh, no, man, I used to have one of those. Like, you get an iPhone, and you find out all the things you hate.
All right, well, let me counterpoint you on that, because I started feeling left behind 6 months after getting the Droid, because it was like Motorola has new Droids. I mean, the rate that Android phones come out is sickening. All right.
Oh, yeah. No,
every month there's a better phone. Cicely has actually got hit harder. She actually had to wait longer.
Eris.
Yeah, for getting like the. You did get the 2.0? Did you get 2.2?
I don't know.
I don't think you got 2.2, but I think you finally got off of 1.6.
Recently.
Can you run Flash?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So did you get to the 2 kernel? But that was like the last one. It was kind of like a shock that it ever came out, and how quick they abandoned the current gen. Now, I want to contrast that with sitting there over there on the shelf is Cicely's first gen iPod. Okay, iPod Touch, the first gen. It doesn't even have speakers. All right, the first one didn't have speakers on it. Right. So
I was surprised when he made it make noise.
Yeah, it does like a little clack thing when you. It's got like a clicker on it or something. So when you type on the keyboard, it does that. So I got it. It's running iOS 1.0. Okay. I could upgrade that to 3.6, which was the version right before the current 4.0. So up until this year, that original gen iPod Touch got every update that all the other iOSs did, right? So you're talking like 5 years?
At least.
I mean, that was the first Christmas present I got you, so I think that's 5 years. 5 years of software updates. That is commitment to a device.
That is true.
I mean, that device is still good for, like, doing development on. That's why I upgraded it, and then I just played a bunch of Word with Friends. But the idea was I was upgrading it to do some development, and I was like, holy crap, I can't do iOS 4.0 features, but I can do 3.6, which, hits a wide majority because...
Yeah. Apple, I will agree. Apple is better about that, mainly because they...
So, I mean, it's knowing, like,
hardware.
if you get the iPhone this year, and the iPhone this year is a 4GS or something, and next year is the 5 with the awesome X-ray vision camera...
That's kind of what I was going to bring up, because...
Furry support, like, I don't know what...
What did you just say? Did you say furry support?
I don't know where you can go.
Something just because
I don't know where you can go. Honestly, at this point, like, they've already done, like, Retina display. Like, I don't know where you can go on a handheld device anymore. I can't even wildly
you
speculate.
can do what they did with the iPad 2. You can make it a fraction thinner and
well, that's what
slightly more
that's what I
powerful,
think this year
and
is.
people will lust after
Well,
it.
see, that's what I think this year is. But then, like, the following year, you have to kick it up with, like, something that's game-changing. And, yeah, I have no idea what that is.
I understand that's the case with the Droid. Now, admittedly, I got the Droid 2 about a year after it came out. So I'm still kind of happy right now. 2 years, I don't know what that's going to look like. Fact is, I like the Droid as a platform, and I like the openness as opposed to Apple. That's, I realize I'm taking the risk of, fragmented hardware. The thing is, though, honestly, whatever device you buy, there's going to be something that is going to make you want to upgrade, whether it's, Apple's release schedule or the market is set up to make you want to buy more.
I think the thing that holds me on the Windows Phone 7 is knowing that there's going to be these Nokia phones, and they're not going to be out when my Droid is up.
Right.
And like my Droid is such a slow piece of shit now. I can't wait. You know, when the contract's up, I think I'm in August is when Temptation's going to hit, because I think I start my new every 2, which they've canned that program. They don't do that anymore, but we hit our new every 2 starting in August.
They still give you, like, they still say you are eligible for
I
discounts.
still get it, because I'm like in that grandfathered zone, and the new every 2 will apply to an iPhone. Like, it applies to everything. If it's not a free phone, it's a discount. And it goes up, like, a little every month, like the closer you get to the end of your contract, which would be November. The rumor is the iPhone's not coming out till, like, September this year. So I'll be pretty close to waiting then anyway. Yeah. But I may end up going iPhone. And I don't know, like I said, it's a really nice UI. I love the mail. I love the UI every time I've played with one, but...
if I was eligible for one in new every 2 when I got my Droid, I would have seriously
considered
it. The only thing I worry about is that, you know, support for the platform would be yanked out because, you know,
I think you're a ways out from that because I mean they just did the Nokia deal, so like you're almost a year out from seeing the Nokia phones. So between now and then, nothing's going to change. It's going to be full steam ahead.
But I felt
now,
like
if the Nokia comes out and launches just as bad, and all the Nokia phones do just as bad as the other brands, then I think you really start to hit the panic button. But there is an upside that may not happen. All right, Nokia's all in with this.
Yes.
Whereas Motorola and the other makers of the Windows Phone 7 are not all in, right?
So
they have their Android devices. So if the Android devices are selling better, what's their incentive to do Windows Phone 7? Nokia, on the other hand, doesn't want to be yet another Android phone. So Windows Phone 7 is a differentiator for them, right? And so because of that, there might be some cool features and things that work out on Nokia phones, or it's a much better experience. It's upgraded more often. That happened with the Nokia phones.
They're going to be like
kind of give Microsoft like the best of both worlds. Like they're not a BlackBerry iPhone in that they make the device themselves, but they have an exclusive manufacturer, so they can do special things with the hardware because they have a close relationship with the developer. Whereas the Android phones are kind of like up to the manufacturers to implement the features.
Well, it sounds like they would be kind of like the Droid, whereas, you know, other Windows phones would be the Aris.
Speaking of all this Windows Phone 7 stuff, Chris Steele on chrissteele.net posted Hyperspace. Hypership.
Out of control.
Out of control. He posted an article on his Windows Phone 7 experience. And overall, it's pretty good. Now, he went ad-supported on Windows Phone 7, so he's not charging. So he's really got to wait, and I think he is right on this. You really got to wait a couple months for ads to kick in. Like, you need to get in a base before that. That revenue is going to build slowly over time.
As opposed to
selling it directly.
And you're going to see a spike. And then,
you might see a spike and then a dip. But he does plan to release a ad-free version that's pay, and he said he's actually had requests for that. So that's a good thing. He said, he thinks the game plays better on Windows Phone 7, which I can see that. Like, it's more of a mobile game, simple interface, works well. I can see that. He loved the review process, even though it's Microsoft and not peer review. There was no jail time invoked. If he had an issue or something like that, he can get right back in. Now, I think you are limited to the number of times that you can submit your app before you start paying per submission. I think they have like a catch on that, so there's a catch for abuse. But overall, like, he found that much better. The big question of sales is still unanswered on that. But if you are interested as a developer, like looking like maybe I'll port my XNA game over, check out Chris Steele. Overall, it seems to be a pretty good experience because he ported his game. So, I would do that if we had a game that was portable, and port it over, and even do it with the emulator. Let Microsoft's QA do their bit. Like, if you don't have a device, although Chris Steele said like what took him so long was getting a device. Like, he actually finally broke down and spent a lot of money to buy an unlocked device because Microsoft still doesn't have a good story there. Microsoft is still missing the obvious Zune HD 7 You know, like they should do a Zune 7 for like the Windows Phone 7 that runs the Windows Phone S, so I can go out and buy an upgrade Zune. Which, by the way, my fucking Squircle here decided it doesn't respond anymore. So today I got up and I
Wait,
can't.
is that also one that got a cracked screen?
They all have a cracked screen.
Okay.
The Touch has a cracked screen, and I stopped using it because I'm afraid of slicing my finger open on it. This has a cracked screen, but you don't touch the cracked screen, so it's what I actually carry everything on. And I like the form factor. I really do like the little stick form factor to carry all my podcasts and music in.
I seriously thought about getting a Zune for a while just to have an MP3 player that was more than like 8 gigs. And I ended up, I got my Droid, so I ended up getting like a 32 meg SD card because that was as cheap as,
Yeah.
Why not?
I'm looking forward to the day that I can combine the devices, and that's one advantage Windows Phone 7 would, because I have my Zune Pass subscription, and I love it.
That would be awesome.
My middle daughter gave me shit for not having Lady Gaga. Like, how can you not have Lady Gaga on your Zune? Why don't you have that?
Lady Gaga.
Well, that's what I wanted to say, yeah. But, she's 8, so you kind
Lady
of
Gaga
go
is
with that.
hot right now, as is Justin Bieber. If you've watched Mike and Mike in the Morning,
That's a Bieber.
yeah. One of the Mikes lost the March Madness bet and had to dress up like Justin Bieber today. If the other Mike had lost, he would have dressed not today on Cinco de Mayo, no 4th of May. If the other one had lost, he would have had to dress up as Lady Gaga. And
in a meat dress?
Yes, possibly.
I don't even know any Lady Gaga songs. That's the sad thing.
I know like a handful. I was
You'll know them when you hear them.
yeah.
No, I probably won't. Do you know the last time I've listened to regular radio? Like, I barely, turn off my podcasts, and when I do, it's usually NPR. So, I mean, unless NPR is rocking Lady Gaga,
No.
no, I'm getting set up there. Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about the comment.
Oh yes,
Should
we have
talk
one more
about the
item.
comment?
We do have one more item. We had a comment left by a series of letters and some numbers for a handle.
Isn't that pretty much every
on the
a series of
Red Ring of Death game?
Yes.
I didn't feel we beat that game up too bad. I didn't feel we were too harsh on that.
No, but we kind of took off on this tangent like 3 minutes in.
So yeah,
the crocodile hunter and
the
fire trucks.
Comment that's left. So what happened when we played the game is we just got stuck on. I'm gonna have to turn your mic off if she settle down. Because I mean that's just all gonna come out on the podcast. All right. So the comment was that we should stick to our day job of reviewing games and actually talk about the game instead of like getting off on a tangent. And I was happy for the 30 seconds you covered, which is total bullshit because there's a good 4 or 5 minutes in that video of us talking about the game itself and mechanics we were liking and weren't liking and issues in the game.
And why we had those issues and,
yes.
and things like that.
Yes.
I mean, granted, a lot of it wasn't talking about the game, but it was talking about the game.
Now, the thing
concepts.
that kind of led me to put my comment reply to that was that it was the developer of the game who left that comment, but left it in such a way as to not appear as the developer of the game. So they didn't log in as Fourth Dimensional Games. They logged in as a weird handle that you actually have to bounce around on Google for a few pages and then realize, yes, that is...
But the way they said it
Dave
implied
somebody or
that
something. Rob Dave something. That he is Fourth Dimensional Games. And the way they said it, they made it sound like it was just an average guy coming in frustrated at the quality of reviews on GameMarx. And then I also let them know that, don't worry, this isn't our day job to begin with. I didn't follow this up, but it's like, dude, you should know this. Nobody fucking makes money on Xbox Live Indie Games. There's no way this could be our day job. But, I mean, I kind of enjoy it a little bit. If developer passive aggressive comments were a cereal, I would enjoy it for breakfast every morning. I would just have some hate flakes every morning. Just some hate flakes with sugar, like nothing can weigh down those hate flakes.
With sugar? You sure you don't want it with like some lemon juice or something else bitter or sour? What was funny was I saw the comment and I went back and watched the video and like, oh yeah, like no, it was actually the opposite. Like we talked more about the game than we did about the tangent. And then you IM'd me later in the day and said, hey, should I post this? And, you had your comment there and you had the detailed explanation of how you knew he was the developer. And I'm like, well, you probably shouldn't post that because I think that's really piling on him. If he comes back, like, that's a good trump card to hold.
I quit being passive-aggressive and I was just aggressive.
Yeah, it was kind of like, no, that's what you, if he doesn't say anything about you calling him a developer, then he's pretty much accepted it. And if he denies it, then you can come back and go, bam.
Yeah. This is your handle. This is your handle. Looking for all of that. I don't know if he'll ever come back.
And then I said, really, he's just trolling you, and the best move is just not to post anything. And you're like, too late.
Too late.
Like, you can delete comments now.
You hadn't even talked about giving me the feedback for the comment, and I made the one change you suggested, and then hit enter, and then you were like, "But you really should not post it." Yeah, too late, gone.
Oh.
It's on the internet.
We can only hope that the troll returns to the scene of his trolling.
And the funny thing is that he's going on us about not reviewing his game, and he
Raging brand.
We look over at Kotaku that talked about his game, but Kotaku didn't talk about his game at all. The Kotaku article on his game is nothing about the game, and it's everything about like the licensing
will Microsoft
sue, which I thought was heavily misleading. Now, again, this is the great research done by Kotaku and fact-checking that they do, but like there was never any Microsoft. The game was never failed for trademark. Like there was a question of like, is this okay? And the answer was like, well, maybe if it, parody, you could be okay on that. You should probably talk to a lawyer. But if you took out the red ring, and they just kind of squirreled the red ring, so that it wasn't an obvious Xbox red ring, then there's nothing in your game, and
it was a story on potential controversy, not even on controversy itself.
Yeah,
but on
and the way it was run on Kotaku, but it's like, they didn't talk about your game either. We talked more about your game than Kotaku did. But again, for Kotaku, that's par for the course. Like, I can't tell you how many times I get pissed off when I read Kotaku, and they're doing a quote-unquote review on an indie game, and they admit to not even buying the game. Like, they just did it off the trial.
They're basically talking controversy. I can understand why he had his reaction because, you're a developer and that's your baby and someone is kind of just pulling it off the shelf and going,
Well, and I did. I mean, my comment is not that hard. My comment was basically like, hey, if you go back and re-listen to this, we're giving you a lot of feedback as a developer.
Right. I understand where he's coming from, but the way he chose to express it was poor.
Rage.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
All right. So I think now it's time we get into our new releases of the week. The new releases this week ran from sometime in April to the 5th of May. The calendar actually doesn't have April on there. Blah, blah, blah. April 29th through the Cinco de Mayo. First one on our list is Cosmic Caverns. This is Maximus? Yes, developer is Maximinus. Maximinus is a developer on this. So this is, what is it, Lunar Lander? Is that the... what's the arch type?
Without the
gravity.
Well, it's got some kind of gravity, but it's without the ability to land.
Okay.
Yeah. So you fly your ship. You launch off the pad and then kind of boost your thrust. But instead of landing, you go into like a vortex, and then you have to sometimes blast your thrust on certain items to open the vortex and get it in there.
It's basically an asteroid style game.
No, I wouldn't call it asteroid. The control scheme.
The control scheme is asteroid style.
I mean, it's more like where you're trying to land. You're just not doing the actual landing. of a lunar lander. But I will say this, that for the genre of these lunar lander games, worst physics ever.
Okay.
Like, controlling that ship was an exercise in frustration.
Oh yeah, you just kept going.
No, I didn't get past the third level.
I actually did, and I thought the level system was neat because in a lot of cases you'd hit a branch, and you could choose which way to go, and you could get up to some really, really tough levels that actually had a lot of variety of obstacles to them. And I like the art style, but that said,
it had a nice retro
tough.
art style. It was a nice retro art style. I mean, I got to the level where you had the little things you had to shoot by. Like, you had to fly by the little circles because they exploded as soon as you popped the circle. And you had, like, this really tight alcove to get off on. And, I mean, I took damage launching. Like, I didn't, like, I just tapped to launch over, and, like, it damaged the ship. I didn't even go anywhere. I didn't hit a wall or anything, and I took damage giving on that. So, that is Cosmic Caverns.
At least you don't have to worry about the gas.
Yeah.
Next one up is Avatar Rail Panic. It's an Avatar Ninja.
Yeah.
Jumpity jump.
Actually, I mean, there's actually more variety than Avatar Ninja, where you've got. It took me a while to figure out the timing, but once I figured out the timing, because it's not as intuitive as you would think it is. Once you figure out the timing, it's actually really easy, or at least it was in the trial. So.
You can kind of jump over something and move to the side at the same time to get points.
Yeah, that was one weird thing. So, like, you had the barrels to jump over, but if you were collecting the coins, like, you would just walk past the barrel.
Yeah.
But the barrel was worth more points than the coin. So, I mean, it was kind of like, I'm really kind of torn, because I'm trying to collect all the coins. I'm not trained to jump over the barrels and not get the coins and leave coins behind. Well, no coin left behind. Okay.
Don't think about it, Mario. Think about it, Donkey Kong. Like you got to jump over the barrels.
Yeah, but it's not worth it. You just pass over that. The next is Niji. This is our first one this week that we did a video of that we have coming. So this is a little, like, angry cat cloud fish flying.
A rainbow koi. Nishikigoi.
Yeah, so you play a fish that, you hit the A button to kind of, like, jump up, and you're kind of just trying to constantly jump up, and you move through waterfalls, and then, you can only bounce yourself up so many times before you have to regain energy, and you regain energy by doing a flip. And to do a flip, you have to hit the B button, and move a direction.
Out of the waterfall.
Yeah, and you have to be out of the waterfall.
And you lose your bonus if you rebounce into the same waterfall.
Yeah. My issue with this game was that it was going way too fast, and the controls were way too complicated.
Yeah.
I really think you should have gained energy while you were in waterfalls, and the time you spent out of the waterfalls, you were losing energy. That seemed to make more sense to me.
But you were gaining bonus.
But you were...
And it's actually the opposite.
Yeah, so, I don't know, like, the idea was neat. The graphics are great.
The art style is awesome.
The controls and the gameplay are bringing it down, and not by, like, wow, they're way off on that one, by, like, just some subtle tweaks, like some speed, put some levels in, like, give me an easy mode, that wasn't scrolling so fast.
There definitely need to be, the scrolling was an issue, because if you go back and watch the video, we may have been playing it wrong, but if you move too fast, the screen kind of screws you and scrolls up really quickly. But I think an easy mode or tutorial mode or something more than the instruction screen that they provided would help you understand how to play, because it's not really something you can just tell someone.
Yeah.
I think there has to be a eureka moment, and we never had it.
Our next game is Balls.
Next.
It's a pull game. It's not particularly a great nor a bad pull game. I kind of did not like how they showed you exactly your shot, where it was going to go, how it was going to ricochet, and then would show you the ball you hit, where it was going to go. Like, it almost took all, like, skill and lining up the shot.
I like that in a game like this because it's so hard to get to see up close.
Yeah, it's
what I would do if I were playing pool. I would move around the table.
It's a poor substitute for being able to get the camera right to line up the shots like you want on a billiard table. This was one of the games this week that features soundtrack by Kevin MacLeod. And even though you can turn off the music, but you can't turn off the bar noise. I wanted to turn off the bar noise. Like, it was just annoying.
I will say that was one of the neat things, because we reviewed a pool game a couple of months ago, and that was one of our complaints, like, it should include something more than this big table. They actually have this, ambient sort of environment with avatars moving around and stuff. But
our next game, air quotes there for you, is App Pack.
Yeah.
And
you could play anything that wasn't a app.
Now, supposedly there's 4 games in this.
Yes, I saw that. We can't play them.
But no, so this App Pack trial is limited to a timer and a massage controller.
Not a very good massage controller.
You tried that out?
Yes, I did.
It has 2 speeds.
It has 2 speeds and all.
One more than Charlie Sheen does.
Nice. We're going to end on that one.
No.
You can't top that. Next up is Flap. We did a video on this one coming. So this is a force-scrolling shooter.
Yeah.
You kind of play a dragon in almost like the vein of Defender, where you're kind of flying by, except you're not scrolling the screen; it's scrolling automatically. And you're bombing, basically villages and trees and things like that. And then occasionally you have boss fights. Other dragons pop in, but they do have a cool mechanic of spells.
Yeah.
So that you can cast different spells and such while you are flying around. And so you can heal yourself, rockets. There's a nice cool, like, the Y button does, like, the best spell or most powerful spell or something.
X will do, like, healing spell. B will do shield spell. We never got either of those.
Never got either of those in the...
Because I only got, like, 2 or 3 levels.
Yeah, I never got either of those in the trial, but... I kind of like the idea of, like, okay, this is always mapped to a heal, this is always mapped to a guard, and this is always mapped to just, like, the most powerful.
Yeah.
So you can queue one up and select it, but you can also just, like, button mash or just, mash up the right spell that you want.
It's also a little bit weird because you're basically bombing everything. Like, you have to cast a spell to shoot straight out, otherwise you're just shooting down, which means when you run into fighting other dragons... It gets really tricky. You have to worry about positioning.
Especially if they're behind you. I wish you could turn around.
Oh, yeah. Those
that is true. It's got an... my kid drew this artwork style going about it. I don't think it looks bad. You, Cicely, seem to have more complaint on the...
It's not a good dragon. It's not a stab in the face quite. Because it looks like they tried, but...
And now, ladies and gentlemen, you can tell that Cicely has cracked into the wine.
Wow, what is that?
This is actually a Moscato.
What is a Moscato?
It's a sweet wine.
Our next game up is Avoider. And Avoider is... You drive a little Jeep and you try to dodge planes that fly over and drop bombs.
Yeah.
It's got a horribly loose control mechanic. Like, I get it, they kind of wanted a loose control mechanic to slide around a little bit, but I found it way too loose.
I got stuck in a wall for a little bit, managed to keep from getting killed on that particular wave, and then ran into something.
Yeah.
He reminded me of Missile Escape, which is one I reviewed and gave a pass to because... Avoiding all attacks to me does not make a game. If you lock to
when I just saw the title,
arena,
like Avoider, it's like
it's really polished.
When I play a video game, I want to be a top. I don't want to be a bottom. All right.
Wow, that's a way to put it.
Like bad.
I said when I play a game, not in the bedroom. Bedroom's different.
That's the worst. That's the worst thing you've said on the podcast.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I was being sarcastic.
Explosive gas is the next one up. We did a video on this one, and not what you think it is. Like, you see explosive gas and the number of fart games that have come across, it is not that. It's actually a pretty cool little multiplayer Bomberman type thing. So where you drop little bombs, and it's kind of cool because you get power-ups so you can drop more bombs simultaneously and also increase the range of your bombs while you run around. And in one mode, you're playing to knock out all the other little gnomes that are dropping bombs. And in the other mode, really cool, this is kind of like an indie game coolness moment of like, wow, that's something I wouldn't have thought of. It's like combine Bomberman with Minesweeper. And you're really trying to like get across the map. But of course it's Minesweeper, so you can't walk across the bombs. Now you can drop your bomb that will detonate any hidden bombs so you can continue walking there. But like the first person who kind of like looks at the numbers and figures out a safe path to walk is going to win.
Yeah.
Although it looked like all of us won at the same time one of those times.
Yeah, I think maybe we weren't being.
I think
as
they all just
cutthroat.
danced. I don't know if you all won. I think they all danced at the same time.
I thought we got
Because
wins.
another game where we all finished. When somebody finished, there was a clear winner.
Mm-hmm.
All the gnomes were dancing on the screen at once, no matter where they were placed. So that one time that happened, both of you crossed the finish line in like a neck and neck situation, and it looked like because you were both dancing, you both won.
Because I thought we watched like the number of wins though, and they went up.
It had the
may
party
just be,
game
like,
feel
yeah.
of like you're playing for a rolling total number of wins.
Yeah.
I think Willie on the video said it best. Like, this is a great multiplayer game. You get
Not
a bunch
so
of guys
much
over,
single player.
jump in there. Single player, maybe not so much. Although the Minecraft is interesting. I don't know what you're playing for on that. Next up is Power Spinners, and this
There are boobies on the cover, but we don't see any boobies in there.
Yeah, Willie pointed out that the mature content rating is like 3 of 3, and it's like,
why? Yeah, why is it
no
a
violence,
3 of 3? I mean, so you have a bikini girl on the cover. I don't think that immediately pushes you to 3 of 3. And the bikini girl on the cover, which is a very small little clip thing at the bottom, you see more on the cover than you ever see in the game.
so far as we know.
It
Maybe
almost
there's
feels like, yeah, I'm going to check this box because people actually check that rating and will buy it based on that, And I'm like, no. And if you want to do that, there are far more weird, creepier things to do. Bo McCurry. Avro's Dungeon,
Basically, any game that someone has found GameMarx for a search that includes the name of the game plus nudity.
Plus nudity, yes.
This happens.
Those happen. And if you find the article, which I totally wrote for SEO spamming on nudity, I linked to several games that might get your partial nudity fix on. As far as the game itself, you throw this disc back and forth, bounce it off walls, and some kind of weird gladiator pong.
Yeah.
It's not that great.
No, it's kind of confusing because there seems to be some sort of power-up system, but I have, like, where you have to stand on a particular spot, but I swear I have only seen the computer get that.
Yes.
Like, I've never seen that show up on my side.
Next we have up is Minions, and Minions is a game that we did do a video of. You play a little Minion commander. You get to pick male or female. The male appears to be well equipped for battle. The female appears to have a ball cap on.
She looks like she should be like riding a horse in the Kentucky Derby or something because she's got like the helmet with the goggles and a jumpsuit.
You are playing top-down dual-stick shooter style as you run through the levels, but there are levels, so
yes.
It is not a dual-stick shooter like a Geometry Wars where you just kind of like that's all you do. You have levels, and it looks like there's 5 or 6 maybe as you
Yeah.
unlock them and
It's
progress
hard
and
to
go
tell in
on.
the trial version.
There is design your own minions, so as you progress through levels, I guess you can upgrade.
You can change the primary and secondary weapon.
You can give them better weapons
a
and
neat
things like
feature
that.
The game had.
This looks like it could have some depth as it went on.
Yeah, it's kind of rough as far as graphics go. I mean, it's 3D, which is impressive.
It's 3D. It's very simplistic.
Yes.
But I think it's done good enough to convey what's going on.
Yeah.
And we thought that you didn't have hands at first, but you do have hands, just don't have arms.
Just
There are
floating
no
out to the
arms.
side.
Yes, you don't have the arms. Next game we have is Endless Midnight Zombie Swarm. This is pretty much a straight dual stick shooter.
Yep.
Zombie come at you, you shoot the zombies, you get a menu, you upgrade stuff,
You're
rinse
gonna
and
die.
repeat.
The graphics were really large, and you're fixed to a single screen, so it kind of felt cramped.
It did. It did. On that, and I got through like 8 levels though
Yeah.
on my first playthrough, so it's not that hard.
Yeah. The graphics were really polished. They had this kind of lighting effect going on where things on the outside of the screen would be darker, I think. It confused me because every time you'd kill a zombie, your your money total in the top left corner would go off. I'd keep thinking like there's something coming from up there and like turn my attention. That's just the one thing I remember.
There is boss fights in the game.
Yes.
But you are on that one screen, it looks like the entire time.
And it's just like 8 parking spaces, and you can't tell which zombies are going to be boomers and which ones are just going to sit there. Cause I was
Is that what they were? Parking spaces? Were you parking lot?
It looked like you were in a parking deck of some sort.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
A
Yeah.
bunch of white lines. I mean, at first I thought they were barriers, and then I kind of figured it out.
Our last game this week is Sequence, which is what you get if you combine an RPG with a puzzle game with DDR.
Yep.
So you have like DDR screens with little arrows coming down, so you gotta hit left, right, up, down. You can use a D-pad, or you can actually use a DDR pad, or you can use a guitar controller to execute that. And then there are 3 different like tabs that you can jump through. One of which builds your mana. One of which nobody's gonna say anything. Like I said, mana. And
I can't
after
remember
the video,
which one he talked about. Like it's voice acted and it's scripted and it's all the art style is very good. And they have these cutscenes, and there is one where someone is teaching your character, about all the different screens, and she says it's pronounced
mana.
Okay.
In the Japanese way with
Okay. I couldn't remember.
So then you have a screen. So you have a screen for increasing your mana. You have a screen for defense, which really is like incoming hits from the opposing monster. If you miss the beats, you take the damage. Yeah. And then the third screen is where you cast your spell. So basically you select the spell with the thumbstick and hit a bumper to cast it. And then to complete the casting, you have to nail perfectly the rhythm that comes down. Now, for being the rhythm game and supposedly like on the beat, I didn't hear it sync up in any meaningful way.
They do
it's
have
on off beats.
Well, it just varied. It's just like, well, these are on beats or off beats. Like, these are on beats, but they're not in any way timed to any kind of melody. Now, I don't play DDR, so maybe that's normal in DDR world, but
sometimes but
I'm
not
used to the
usually.
Rock Band world where, like, I can hear what I'm pressing. And that wasn't there. So once I let go of that, I did a lot better. Once I actually like actively stopped listening to the music and just kind of hitting them on timing, I did a lot better.
Now it does have a way to account for lag between your screen and your audio, which actually a lot of Rock Band games have now. So that may have been an issue. I did notice it took me a while to figure out where I was supposed to hit, like the arrow. They didn't, that didn't always sync up as nicely as I thought. Like, okay, the arrow is here, I'm supposed to hit it, and then I'd miss. I was really impressed at the fact that they let you use all these different controllers, and at least with the regular Xbox controller, they managed to cram a whole bunch of different functions into a single controller. Now I also played it with the guitar, which was not as good.
How is the controls done?
Okay, so the first 4 fret buttons are your arrow keys.
Oh, okay. So basically the order of the frets match the order of the arrow
Yes.
keys are on there. Okay.
They're not color coded. There's still your arrows.
No, because color means something. Like color
Right.
means the intensity of the damage or something that's coming.
That is true. You do have to strum, so it does play more like a rock band style game, which I like that they did this. Your 5th fret button, your orange fret button, and your strum bar are used to flip back and forth between your panels. So you basically have to come down to the orange button, flip around, then move back up. I'm trying to think what else, because when you cast a spell, the spells will be labeled with a particular fret button, so you'll hold the fret button down and hit the whammy bar, which seemed odd, but again, they're cramming a bunch of functionality into. It seems like there was something else. That may have been it. I can't remember. It was. I eventually kind of got into it, but I only played it on medium, and I only played the first few. This seems like a game I'd like to go back and review and actually play through.
Yeah, play through. So
there's also like a crafting system and
equipment. There's a lot to this. It is an RPG.
Because he got a piece of obsidian and he's like, "What?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to know what it." And then he goes down with a scientific name for it and just like crap.
All right, so that wraps up our new releases of the week, and now game of the week. It's Sequence.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a clear winner. Like, that wasn't even a question. And if you haven't, go play the trailer to Sequence. I love the trailer. I mean, the guy is doing a voiceover of the trailer and saying stuff like, if you don't know what hit points are, you shouldn't be playing this game. Just go on. And, you're insignificant. And, I mean, the ending, I don't want to give away the ending of the trailer, the last thing that he's saying on the trailer, but it's hilarious. A lot of tongue-in-cheek, really fun way of doing it. I like the voice acting. It's well-deserving of Game of the Week.
I like the attitude they're kind of expressing with this, because like when you start the trial, it's like, hey, you got 8 minutes, and here's a bunch of stuff you need to know. It just like I don't feel like they are screwing me over in the trial like a lot of games
one thing
do.
you could do, because I did it and Cicely did it as well, if you go through the tutorial and the trial pops up and times you out, you jump back into the game, it picks up in the tutorial where you were at.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, you can actually play through the tutorial and, because you might, to get to the tutorial, especially if you read all the dialogue and everything and you're getting into it, you're going to spend 30 minutes in this game before you really get into the game. But the dialogue and everything is really enjoyable, so it's really nice that they did that. I mean, they really kind of did a great workaround for the 8-minute limit, but, I just found myself like, yep, 8-minute limit, let me go out, come back in, and play it some more and get the full trial on that. But, we need to make sure we get a review on that up on the site. Do we got anything in chat? Any questions, any comments, any...
You were typing a whole bunch back there.
Oh, typing with my left hand takes a little bit longer. Right now, there was a question on which indie game had the biggest audience, and the only answer we had was Fortress Craft, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a interesting guy in chat right now. Isaiah Mercury, asking what indie game has the biggest audience? What is the most popular indie game people play? That's kind of a good question. I guess this guy is new to indie games or just checking out and kind of just stumble upon, discover us. I'll plug our site right now. Go to GameMarx.com, click on reviews, go to review archives, and we got a bunch of buy recommendations of things. But, for the podcast and the immediate, I know some of my personal favorites have been the Zeboid, Breath of Death, and Cthulhu Saves the World.
Yes.
I think I made a game with zombies in it. It's kind of gimmicky. I wouldn't.
I don't care.
It's good and it's fun to play, but I mean, I feel we've moved beyond like that time that worked. But I made a game with zombies in it. Of course, is a very popular one to check out. I love and will still actually go back to and play the space game.
Solar Struggle? Survival?
Solar Struggle Survival. Not Solar Struggle,
Struggle.
but Solar Struggle Survival. I mean, an arcade space shooter I really got into.
And I want Gerbil Physics 3, damn it.
Gerbil Physics was great for the puzzle games.
If you like RPGs, I would go get Aphelion and Aphelion Part 1 and Part 2.
That's true. Aphelion 1 and 2 for a JRPG fan. Really good there. We haven't really reviewed these, but Decay just completed.
Yeah.
So there's a 4 series of Decay.
If you like scary stuff, that one will creep you out.
It's kind of Myst-like
Um,
gameplay.
There's a whole genre, if you're into the shooters and the score shooters, and playing for high score, and just doing better every time you play the game. Anything out by Radiant Games, you
Yes.
want to check Radiant Games. Even though it wasn't my cup of tea, I will say Decimation X3, as far as like get your Space Invaders clone on with Decimation X3, and really like almost like a Pac-Man Championship Edition DX. You could check out Decimation X3.
Were there any other answers in the chat?
No, I don't see anybody really answered them any questions.
Mad Ninja said Fortress Craft.
Fortress Craft. I guess that's the one to assume
Oh,
is
okay.
the most popular.
Yeah,
but-
if you want what most people buy bullshit. So Fortress Craft, it's a shitty ass Minecraft clone. It's not
With
great.
trampolines.
Hold out if you're looking for some Minecraft clones, either for Fortress Craft to release their planned update versions to where they've actually implemented more than just placing blocks. But there's also like 2 or 3 Minecraft clones in the works coming out. Some of them with vehicles. Some of them have actual different style takes.
Craftworks or something?
Craft World or
Craft World,
something.
maybe. I can't remember.
They're coming, so it'll get interesting because I think some other developers are trying to take an interesting spin on it. And Fortress Craft claims they're going to take a spin on it. They just haven't done it yet, so I wouldn't put it's selling. Not arguing that it isn't selling on there, and then hang around for a year or so and buy rocks when we put rocks out.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, I'd say Inca Blocks, but we pulled that game.
Yeah, we can no longer plug it. I feel sort of empty inside now.
Multiplayer, Protect Me Night.
Yes.
It's all in Japanese. The title is in Japanese, so you're going to have to go to the bottom of the list. Or if you scroll through like best-selling, best-rated, you'll eventually see Protect Me Night. It says Protect Me Night on the box art, so you'll know if you have it.
Yeah.
Still, best multiplayer game on the service.
If you're playing
Total.
online
All ages.
multiplayer, ZP2KX.
Online
It's kind
multiplayer,
of
yeah.
a Smash Brothers.
A Smash
sort of-
Brothers type deathmatch.
But you've got guns.
But yeah,
and-
like a violent Smash Brothers, like a Smash Brothers with guns.
Smash Brothers meets Halo, I think is how I described it. But
Yes.
or 2K9 was the one I actually reviewed, but 2KX is the newest one. And I don't know if this is still true, but there were actually people playing it. Like I actually jumped on with.
If you want to kind of chill and relax and play a good indie game that's kind of relaxing and got a cool art style and vibe, Along Came a Spider. I think I have a video review of that one up. I got a couple of video reviews I need to get posted. I need to edit and post the other video reviews we shot and recorded.
like the ones like long time ago.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think I have like 2 or 3 that I'd ever posted.
Say, speaking of which, keep going. Finish that out,
yeah.
'cause I've
Along
got
Came a
couple
Spider basically has a really cool kind of vibe thing about it. It's a hidden gem on the service that came out a long time ago. Didn't get a great reception, I think, but it's really good.
Ancient Trader was a good kind of board game if you're into like the really
Yeah, if you want something a little
complicated
more
board
depth,
games.
complex type strategy.
It's not that deep, but it is kind of a complex game that the playing on a console kind of automates for you. If you're into puzzle games, like you remember Adventures of Lolo, Aesop's Garden was really, really good.
Penguin's Peril, not too bad in that respect as well. So, yeah, I hope you wrote all those down as we just rattled those off. But many of these games we did do reviews on.
Yeah.
We actually, the end of last year, because we decided we were going to review new games, but since there was a whole back catalog that we didn't get to, we took like the top 30 rated games and we kind of did some filtering, like they had to have a certain number of votes and things like that, and came up with a very tight list, and then burned through those reviews in December of these high-ranked games on the service. So a lot of these, we kind of padded the buy list when we did that, but
not necessarily. There were
not
some I
necessarily.
passed.
there were some that we didn't jive for us, but they were definitely on the popular list. So GameMarx.com, click on reviews, and then hit review archives, and you can hit some of those lists. And I kind of too, I need to get our site updated so that we're like actually making a list of game of the weeks as well as things go on, so we can kind of see like what we've considered our game of the week that's worth checking out and playing. And the beauty is you get 8-minute trials on these, so just start downloading. Go to the website, go to our GameMarx.com, and there's links right to the marketplace. And from the marketplace, you log into Xbox.com, you can send these to your download queue. So you can queue up like 10 indie games to check out, while you're screwing off at work, And then when you get home, you fire up and it downloads them all, and you check all these out. And then spend $1 or $5, somewhere in there for the ones you like. So, yes, Mad Ninja Skills is making a call out for emus that I called at the top of the show. If you have any inclination for a digital audio workstation and do some remixing and play Daft Punk at home, you don't have to wear a Daft Punk helmet. I don't know why you wouldn't, but you don't have to.
Those things are expensive.
Build your own, if you can't, or
Christmas lights and a motorcycle helmet.
Poke some, get some crayons, and color a rainbow on a paper bag and poke holes in there, so your eyes, and you can kind of pretend that's your Daft Punk helmet. It's your own home. I know your Kinect is broadcasting a camera image back to, Microsoft headquarters, but
they won't tell anyone.
Unplug your Kinect so they don't see that, But that's definitely. I'm gonna spend some time with that, and we might get into some video reviews after Code Stock passes, and
yes.
I think there's
a lot of games that we've gotten codes for that honestly I think would make better video reviews than they would written reviews. Yeah,
I don't know if I'm ready to release that rule that you have to write a written review before you do a video review.
It's just a lot of them. When we first played them, we were kind of on.
I don't want reviews to become cheap trials.
Right? No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because we do trials on the site, and
no.
are.
I actually write up the review. The difference I would say there is these are things that, like, I'll be honest, like Retrocade, I think what it is can be conveyed better through video with good voiceover. Not recorded at the same time you play the game necessarily. But it's hard to, like, when you sit down to write, it's like, what's there to say? Because it's
right.
kind of...
Yeah, I mean, at some point you run out of stuff to say, but then very few games, I think, can you run out of stuff to say and warrant a video review. Because we were kind of saving video reviews for buys only.
Yeah, that is true.
With it, because, I mean, the extra effort involved and the attention. Trials. I mean, we crank out a ton of trials, so, for games that might not make the mark of a buy on GameMarx, that's what trials are for.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking. I guess these would have to
So,
be more heavily edited.
Funkworks type news looks like we're going to be adding a PR guy
Yep.
to the team. So we'll be 4. It'll be Willie. Get that up and running. So that will free us up a lot, actually, because managing the PR duties and getting the content out and published and scheduled and all that takes time, and that takes time away from other things. Now, I'm not going to say like in the next month it's going to get some Xbox Indies features to appear, because Code Stock is coming, and that's just going to just slam me here, because I got to place some orders this weekend and deal with that and sign some more contracts for venues. But post that, I think it's really going to pay off for us to add that.
Yeah, it's basically, it would take what we're doing now. We would have to switch gears quite a bit.
And as I described the position is basically we need a DJ Keemstar without the asshat racism. All right? So we're going to try and blaze a trail and like say like you can market a game without being a total racist asshat. Okay? We're blazing a trail. We're proving something new. Never been done before, as far as I'm worried. But
stab in the face.
Oh.
Yes.
And it'll be someone who's disconnected from actually the development work of the game, which is good, because it's hard to do the PR when you're like, it's my baby.
Yeah. The Mad Ninja Skills asked, did you employ DJ Kim? He's asking, and it's like, I contacted him, and his don't be a douche rate I can't afford. So like I can afford the be a dick douche rate, but I couldn't afford the like be a contributing member to human society rate and be productive member of the species. I couldn't afford that.
He didn't just call you a cracker and tell you to get out?
Well, I think that's what that meant.
Oh.
I think when I converted Keemstar to English, that's what that meant.
This isn't going on the regular. I don't want to listen to it anyway.
Yeah, nobody makes it this far in the podcast. Hey, everyone. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Let's do this again in a week. And I'll find the button to hit stop.